It's Ash from Super Videos, back for another video for The Last of Us on HBO. On this video, we're going to be taking a look at some filming photos from behind the scenes of shooting The Last of Us, and also I'm going to go through some news about the filming of the show and things that we know about it so far. Now, I did do another video earlier this week where I went through a few more behind the scenes photos from the pilot episode, which I'm not going to go through in this video. So if you haven't checked it out, make sure to check that out as well, because there's some cool details about those that I talked about, which also give us a pretty good idea where they're going with TV adaptation of The Last of Us. Now, before we get into this, if you're new on the channel and don't know, they're actually filming The Last of Us in Canada, in a city called Calgary, which is actually where I live. In fact, they're actually shooting a lot of the scenes in Calgary, a few blocks from where I live. And although I don't have any exclusive pictures on this video, I am able to provide some details and fill in some of the gaps that others may not necessarily be able to. So stay tuned. We'll be right back to talk more about these pictures and some news about the show. Alright, as always, before we jump into this, if you're not a subscriber and enjoy the content by the end, consider subscribing to join our community, share and smash the like button, and press the bell to be notified when I upload on the channel. With that, let's dive right into it. So first, we're actually going to take a look at the official synopsis that they revealed for the show. So the synopsis reads, and I'm quoting here, "The story takes place 20 years after modern civilization has been destroyed. Joel, hardened survivor, is hired to smuggle Ellie, a 14-year-old girl, out of the oppressive quarantine zone. What starts as a small job soon becomes a brutal, heartbreaking journey as they both must traverse across the US and depend on each other for survival." That's pretty much the synopsis of the game. So they're staying true to the events of the video game and they're not changing things too much, which is great news. Now, that doesn't mean that they're not gonna add in stuff and expand on the world, but the main storyline or the synopsis is staying the same, which is great because that means they're staying true to the source material, which is what we all fell in love with in the first place. I'm gonna also read a quote from Cynthia Summers, who's one of the costume designers on the show. She says, "If you know the game, you kind of know where we're going with it." That's also another clue that they're staying true to not only the storyline, but possibly the atmosphere and the environment as well, which definitely makes sense if we kind of go back to some of the images that I covered in my other video, because a lot of those images looked like they just took visuals from the game and brought it to life, which is great because it means that, again, they're staying true to the source material. They're making the environment feel genuine to the video game, which is definitely going to help us get immersed into the universe. Also, another piece of news, we know Emmy winner Craig Mazin from Chernobyl is writing and executive producing the series alongside Naughty Dog's Neil Druckmann, who's the writer and creative director of the game itself. With that, I'm gonna showcase a few awesome looking concept posters. These are not real. I repeat, these are not real, but they are pretty awesome concept posters that someone posted. Obviously, you can see the source on top of the poster here, but we see portrait or a poster of Pedro Pascal in the outfit of Joel from the video game, which is pretty awesome. We also see something similar with Bella Ramsey, who's going to be playing Ellie. Pretty awesome portrait art, and obviously in the background we do see the Fireflies logo, which is pretty awesome. I actually created this poster myself, which is basically the same thing, but I just put it together. I am super intrigued to see the official poster, which is definitely gonna give us a better understanding of how Ellie and Joel are gonna look on The Last of Us on HBO. We have seen a few pictures of Pedro Pascal as Joel from behind the scenes photos of them posted on Instagram, but obviously that doesn't do it justice. A poster like this, or even possibly official pictures, would give us a better understanding of what we're dealing with. The next thing I want to talk about is actually behind the scenes photos. So this behind the scenes photo is actually of a highway that's been blocked off, where we have a bunch of cars in traffic. This is obviously a classic look of an apocalyptic type of show or movie, but obviously, specifically looking at the video game The Last of Us, they're probably replicating a scene from the video game where we had Joel and Ellie having to drive into the city because of something that I heard sources say, that Ellie and Joel are actually attacked by a motorcycle gang when they're on the road. So that could be an adaptation of this particular scene where Joel and Ellie are attacked by this gang, which I think were called the Rattlers. So that's pretty awesome. So that goes back to what I said earlier. Even though they are staying genuine to the source material and even the environment, that doesn't mean that it's going to be 100% the same. They are going to be expanding it possibly and switching things up. Next thing I want to show you guys is a few pictures that was actually on the news. We see them building some sort of a set. So we see brick walls and everything, and them building some sort of a small town, which is pretty cool. The first thing I thought of when I saw these images is Billy's Town. The way that those set pieces looked, it definitely looked like they're building or replicating Billy's Town, which is awesome. Now, what this also tells me is that they may not be filming in sequence, because Joel and Ellie don't get to Billy's Town until like midway through the game, and from what I know, they're not quite there yet. They've only filmed maybe the first 3 episodes. So that means that they may be shooting out of order or out of sequence. There's other things supporting that, which I'll talk about in a little bit. This is actually a random cop car that was parked in the downtown area around the city, and obviously it says Austin Police, so it means that this is a prop car, not a real police car. Now, one thing I do want to mention, and this is a mistake on my part, when I was talking about behind the scenes photos in my other video, there was also this picture where they were basically preparing for a scene, and there was a Austin Police car and an Austin Police SWAT truck. When I talked about this on my other video, I said that they're probably changing things because I don't remember any part of the game being in Austin, Texas, but that's obviously wrong, and I can't believe I made this mistake, but it happens. The game starts in Austin, Texas. Joel and Ellie's house is in Austin, Texas. We don't move away from Austin, Texas until after the time jump, which happens after the prologue. Speaking about the prologue, we also looked at this picture right here, or a different version of it. Maybe a version that wasn't quite as apocalyptic as this, but we did look at this where they have transformed a part of the town, and this is actually not Calgary, this is in Fort Macleod, which is 45 minutes from Calgary, but they've transformed it, assuming that it's going to be some part of Austin, Texas. Now take a look at the building on the right. It's actually some sort of a movie theater, which is pretty cool because it looks like they may be doing the scene from the video game where we have Joel taking an injured Sarah obviously being his daughter, to safety. There's pandemonium everywhere and there's chaos. We also have some other behind the scenes photos of some tipped over newspaper stands. We have this one as well. Now look at the newspaper. It's actually saying something about Austin, so I'm assuming it's the Austin paper or something along those lines. We also do have this particular shot of a flipped over car and a police car. Looks a lot like the scenery that we saw in the video game where Joel and Ellie and Tommy were running through the pandemonium that was happening in the city. The other thing I want to talk about is this picture right here, which is pretty cool. So we have a house that looks like it's been burned, or they've made it look like it's burning. This obviously could be the scene from the video game where Sarah, Tommy, and Joel are driving away from their house, and there's a scene where Sarah looks at a house that's being set on fire. So that particular image could be the aftermath of a scene like this that they could have been shooting, which is pretty awesome. Now, the sources I looked at also said that they're filming at a football stadium called McMahon Stadium in Calgary, which is actually a football stadium, which is pretty interesting because it could mean that they are filming a part of the game where Joel and Ellie go to the Colorado State University. This actually connects to something else I said earlier, where it looks like they may not be shooting the episodes in order that they appear in the video game. They may be shooting out of order or out of sequence. Some sources also say that they are filming in a high school, which is actually minutes away from where I live, and this may mean that they're shooting parts of the video game where they went to this high school where they encountered a bloater for the very first time. So I'm assuming that they may be shooting that particular scene in the gymnasium of this high school here. In the next few days, I'll be going around and checking this place out to see if they're still filming, to share with you guys, but obviously they're filming inside the high school, which is blocked off, so there's only so much you can capture in terms of behind the scenes, photos and things like that. I do note that they are filming, or they were filming as of maybe 2 days ago, because there was some trailers that were parked in the parking lot. But that's pretty much everything that I wanted to go through in this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to share and smash the like button. If you're not a subscriber, subscribe to join our community. And also, if you are interested to get more news, info, behind the scenes photos, and possibly exclusive photos and footage from filming The Last of Us on HBO, make sure to press the bell button to be notified when I upload on the channel. But that's pretty much it. I am interested to know everyone's thoughts and opinions and predictions about the show based on everything we covered on this video and also on the last video that I did. So share your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. That's it for this video. See you next time for another super video.